Imagine being able to predict what Google's going to reward next on your Google business profile. Imagine going to the top of Google Maps because you just did the right thing at the right time. And not based on just guesswork, but based on real data. Data from thousands of businesses that are at the top. Well, my guest today does exactly that. Justin Silverman is one of the smartest guys when it comes to inventing tools that are going to help you rank at the top. He's helped thousands of businesses rank on Google. And in this interview, he's going to reveal exactly what's working today. And of course, local SEO is changing fast with AI. So this is going to be a real insight to help you.
You know, the next thing that Google is going to grade people on is going to be those harder things to do, which I think video falls perfectly.
So if you're still using the same tactics you've been using for the last few years, you need to watch this.
It's time consuming. People probably aren't going to take the time to do it. And so if you do it, it's just one extra thing that, you know, Google can give you a check and say, okay, yeah, this business.
Because what Justin shares will change how you think about local SEO. And also I'm going to jump in with some of the things that I also think is going to make a difference to your business. And what I've done to make it even easier for you is I created this tick list here for you to download so you can follow along on the 5 most powerful tips that we recommend from this interview. So I'll put a link to the download below.
So give me some insights on what you think 2025 will bring and what kind of future optimization trends that you expect in the next year or two.
Yeah, generally, I think that, and when we talk about search engine optimization, I think predominantly Google. And I think that they have a very large challenge on their hands, which is sifting through all of the just generic AI content that's constantly being thrown at them, both on websites and social media and Google business profiles. And so I think that one trend, and it's what our data is showing, is that the more authentic information you put out, the better you're going to be. And so I think it's totally okay to still use AI to create your content, but you have to make sure that you're like feeding into the AI tons of information about your business itself, so that, you know, it's not writing the same content for you that it is for like 8 million other roofers or plumbers or dentists or whatever it is. And you know, kind of along that same vein with authentic content, I think that video is also going to be more and more important because it's just one of those things that, you know, it's harder to do. And so as like everyone can start to post on their Google profile every few days with AI and automations, you know, the next thing that Google is going to grade people on is going to be those harder things to do, which I think video falls perfectly in line with. And we've already got some clues that that is the case. I'm not sure if you saw, but in the last email from the Google Small Business team, they even mentioned that you should start uploading video to your Google Business profile. And I always like to keep my eye on what Google is suggesting they want people to do, because most likely that's what they're going to reward.
Yeah, that's a good thought. And I think that one of the challenges I find a lot of people are saying is that with uploading video, it seems to be quite challenging because I think it's like has to be a certain like 30 seconds. It can't be this. Can't be that, has to be, and in the end, a lot of failings and issues seem to come along, or it's pending forever. Are you finding it's changing too?
No, that's exactly right. It has to be, I believe, under 65 megabytes and under 45 seconds. So it can't be that great of a video. And so yeah, we're having to do a lot of like optimizations in how we get high quality videos onto Google profiles. And one thing that you can do is there's tons of like video file shrinkers that are online. So if you ever want to upload a video to Google and it's over that threshold, you can actually just shrink it down pretty easily online. It just lowers the frame rate. And then it cuts the file like significantly without really losing quality. So yeah, you can definitely get around those, but you have to do a little manual work.
So talking on videos again, because I agree with you, I think video is a great way forward. It's going to be a way of building trust because it's a lot harder to fake video than it is to fake text and images. So I think, when you think about reviews as well, I mean, it's interesting this week, I'm sure you've seen it, that the review reporting numbers are up the creek, and it's been a bit of a disaster for Google this week from that point of view, that the reviews are there, they're just not being reported correctly as a number. Would you say that like reviews as well, video reviews is going to be the way forward?
Oof, I don't know if Google is ready to allow everyone to use a video in their review. I think that would be great and and would definitely raise the authenticity of them and give Google's AI a lot more content to go off because they do want to analyze that content to answer questions about businesses. But given what we've seen with video uploads for, verifications and for the media section, I'm just not sure that, it's going to be a great experience if everyone starts uploading them. But that would be
Yeah,
awesome to see. I would love to watch more video reviews of, local restaurants.
yeah, yeah. I think it's definitely going to be the way forward, but maybe not this year. Maybe a year or two yet to wait for that. Yeah. Okay, well, that's really interesting. So, I mean, maybe we'll come back to some other thoughts on that. What would you say is the biggest challenges that businesses are facing for you at the moment?
I think it's really just staying on top of all the Google algorithm updates and then making sure that their strategy is aligned to it. So, in the past, Google might have done one or two main updates to the algorithm each year. And just in the last 3 months, we've had two updates. And in January, there was a ranking bug where profiles were thrown in all directions. And so I think that over the last 3 months in particular, it's just kind of been a big murky mess as to what's working on Google Maps, which is why, I like to rely on the data. But even then, when things are changing so quickly, you have to wait long enough to analyze the data to see what's working. So I think that's kind of something where in the past, if you just put out good content regularly, typically Google would reward you. But Google's clearly changing the goalposts a little bit, and so I think just uncertainty right now is probably making it difficult for many business types.
Yeah, and are you finding that there's a lot more like verification a few years ago was like a postcard. Now it's become like video. Now it's even becoming live video. That's like running down the road next to a signpost and running all the way back again. I mean, are you finding that it's just also Google are kind of now catching up with the fact there's a lot of duplicate businesses and there's been a lot of people kind of, using the system and they're kind of now trying to get on top of it. Do you feel that's, you find that's a challenge as well, businesses?
I think it's both a challenge and an opportunity because in the past, lead generation Google business profiles would typically dominate for certain niches. And that's not really like what Google Maps is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a real local business that you want to get in touch with. It's always frustrating when you're trying to find a locksmith. Like for example, recently my key broke as I was putting it into my door and I had to look for a locksmith. The first person I called was the top person on Google Maps. Of course, I use Google Maps to find everyone. And it turned out that it was just a call center. And then they were going to go and sell that lead to a bunch of different people who then started blowing up my phone. And so, like, that's not the experience that anybody wants, right? And so I think that while it can be frustrating that Google is making all these businesses re-verify, I think that the end result will be that they're going to get those people that are abusing Google Maps off of Google Maps, which means that the real businesses can succeed. So it can always be frustrating when you're trying to verify your business for, whatever hurdle gets thrown your way. But yeah, I think like long term, it's actually in the business's best interest that it keeps these e-commerce lead generation businesses, off of Google Maps.
Yeah, I agree. And I was using an analogy the other day. I mean, I like racing, Formula One racing, IndyCar racing, NASCAR racing. I like all those forms of racing. And you could even finish, I think in my video I said like you could finish seventh, but if the six ahead of you never play by the rules and get disqualified, you're first. And in many ways, I think, genuine businesses just have to sometimes see this for a bit longer, but ultimately stick with the rules, the guidelines, because you will eventually get to the top if you stay there and play by the rules. And there's, still a lot of businesses aren't doing that. So yeah, I
Yeah,
kind of agree with that.
it's a great point. Like we only do white hat techniques because, for as long as I've been in the industry, I've seen tons of tools pop up that do black hat things and, they explode in popularity because they're so effective. And then overnight, bam, they get caught by Google. All those profiles get suspended and that tool basically shuts down, goes out of business, lose all of its users because everyone just got suspended. And I've seen that just happen so many times that I just believe it's not worth doing anything that's black hat
Yeah.
because Google is way smarter. They figure out when someone's manipulating the system and then they penalize you. And so to your analogy of racing, it's totally true. Like slow and steady will win the race. Let the people in front of you that are doing the wrong thing get disqualified. And then also don't lose your motivation to get your profile looking good on Google. I've seen it so many times where business owners are like, oh, this verification is taking too long. Forget it. I don't need Google Maps. And the answer is like, you do need Google Maps. Just like keep your calm, give Google what they need to verify you, and then you'll come out ahead at some point. So yeah, it can definitely be frustrating, but worth waiting for.
Yeah, that's great advice. Totally agree with that as well. Okay, so do you feel that Google plays fair?
I do. I think that one, it's largely controlled by algorithms, not by humans. And I think that those algorithms are there to help people. And I think it was about a year ago where actually they changed their how they perceived reviews based on what we could see, is that only recent reviews were really weighted for rankings. And I thought this was a really high integrity move for them, and it frustrated tons of people that had spent years and years building up hundreds or thousands of reviews. But the reason why I think it was fair is because it actually levels the playing field so that new businesses have a chance to show up on Google Maps and not just be pushed to the bottom because they have way fewer reviews than everybody else. And so, I thought that was a really good indication that they do generally just want the best business to rank, not necessarily the oldest one that has spent the most time, buying reviews in the old days where it was easy to do that. So yeah, I have no reason to think that they play unfair.
Yeah, yeah. And just in general, you feel like the guidelines and I mean, there's plenty of clarity there. People just don't generally want to read it, do they? But it's all there, isn't it? If they wanted to.
Yeah, and also I like to think like, what is their main motivation? And their main motivation is to find the best business for their searcher as quickly as possible. And the way that they're able to do that is by just looking at the data available for each business. And so as long as you give Google the information they need about your business and you keep it up to date, they're going to like you and they're going to reward you by showing you when someone searches. So yeah, I think like just look at what Google puts out for business owners to use, and if you play by them, they're going to reward you. I don't think there's anything unfair about it.
I absolutely, I feel that people are so worried about pleasing Google, but actually all Google's trying to do is get customers that are the right customers. And if Google can't do that, then Google doesn't exist and they can't market and they can't sell adverts. So it's kind of like focus on your customer. And then that actually sorts Google out anyway. So if your customer needs that information, they've got questions, if they need video to show the product, just do that, And it's strange how people can't seem to see beyond search engines, can they?
Yeah, and the same thing that you're doing for Google will be what's going to help you for AI search results as well.
Yeah,
So yeah, totally with you.
absolutely. With AI, then, so how do you see AI and automation impacting Google Business Profiles of 2025?
So yeah, I think for AI results, you really just need to keep doing the same, where you're uploading images and videos and filling out the information on your profile, because Google needs that training information so that their AI can answer questions. And I saw this really good example where the user searched for a a restaurant with a full bar, and the
That's right.
result that Google showed was shown because there was a picture of a full bar inside their restaurant. There were shelves with liquor bottles in it. And so they wouldn't have been able to show that restaurant unless there was that picture there that proved to Google that they had that bar. And so, that's one of those things where Google can't just make up synthetic information for businesses. They need real information. That information needs to come from the business owner. So to rank higher with AI, or for AI, just keep uploading more and more images and videos and things that AI can't just make up. And then to answer the second part of the question around AI or around automation, is if you're using any kind of automation, just make sure that's deeply trained on your business, or else it's just going to be considered fluff and Google's going to ignore it.
No, that's great. It's interesting. You mentioned like the cover photo, and I see that you can go into Google and you can decide what your cover photo is. But I find that quite often the cover photo is totally independent of what I've either asked it to do, and sometimes it's even taken it from. I even felt like it was from a third party Yale photo I had somewhere. I mean, are you finding that is it reacting to what it thinks customers might want to see on the cover photo, or what are you finding from that?
Yeah, well, my experience is mostly when searching for a local business. For example, the other day I was searching for French onion soup. And so I typed in French onion soup Los Angeles, which is where I am. And the cover photo that was shown in all of the results was of a soup. and some of them were French onion soup, other ones were not. And so it was just helpful because it allowed me to look at all these soup pictures and be like, oh, that one looks good. And then I, went to that restaurant. And so I think that they're changing the cover photo based on what the user is searching for, just to give that business their best foot forward. Because if it showed me, their front doors, I was not going to go to them. I was going to go for the one with the best looking French onion soup.
Mm,
So yeah, I
yeah,
think they probably do dynamically set those based on users.
yeah, yeah. So cover photos, I think it's going to get bigger and bigger in the coming years as well. But I've also got here a question: what strategies would you recommend for businesses that want to establish themselves as trusted authority in Google? So I think that we often talk about EAT, expertise, authority, trust. These things are kind of things that real people are looking for on behalf of Google. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you go for the hardest things that there are to do because most people are not going to do them, which is going to help you stand apart. So years ago, that meant just doing Google Business posts. Then more recently, it meant adding Q&As because a lot of people don't do that. Now I think it means uploading videos to your Google Business profile because again, that's something that most businesses don't do. But I also think that it helps a lot to add YouTube videos. So create videos of your business, whether it's YouTube walking around with your cell phone taking videos, or if it's stitching together different images from your business with a voiceover and uploading to your YouTube channel. So first, make sure that you have a YouTube channel for your small business, and then connect that through links back to both your website and your Google Business profile, so that Google can like marry those entities together. And again, just one of those things that's hard to do. It's time consuming. People probably aren't going to take the time to do it. And so if you do it, it's just one extra thing that, Google can give you a check and say, okay, yeah, this business, they're real.
Yeah, that's good. So maybe you were saying like the harder tick boxes, go for those, and they kind of have a bigger impact. Yeah, yeah, I'd
Yeah,
agree.
that's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's a great strategy to have. So what's your thoughts then on AI and local SEO? But I think we've really covered that.
Yeah, I do have one thought. Generally, I did believe that the importance of citation management, I think it was still important, but I think the importance of it was waning over the last 5 or so years. But I think that with AI search results and local SEO in general, you actually do need to use citation management again as like a necessity, because Google has a walled garden around that Google business profile data. They made it harder for things to scrape it because they know, okay, this is a unique set of data that only, Gemini has access to, or generative results inside Google. Whereas all of these other AI search systems can't hit those. And so they need to get the local business data off of other directories. And so if your business is not representing itself well on other directories, you're not going to show up in those search results on, any other search platform outside of Google, which of course Google is the most important one. It's where 90% plus people are searching. So obviously put your focus there. But it's just an interesting thing that I thought happened, which is with AI and AI search results coming out more and more, I do think that citations, the importance of it really has ballooned again.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. I totally agree. And I think I used an analogy the other day that it's almost like Google has its own ranking system, but it also just needs to know that it's getting it right. So it just needs that 10% of the rest of the web to say, yeah, yeah, we agree with you. It's almost like, an insecurity it's got, like a teenager that says, do I look okay in this? Am I okay? So yeah, so I think Google does third-party citations, things like that, indexes. They're still always going to be a useful way of just confirming to Google that they've got it right. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. Like, to the view of now you have to do the harder and harder things. There was a time where just updating your business through a citation management platform was enough to get you ranking on the on the first page of Google, right? And then as that became more prevalent and everybody started doing it, you then needed to go a step harder to the things that people weren't doing. And I think that that's just going to continue, and a really good example of how, you just have to keep moving up the ladder in terms of difficulty.
Yeah, yeah.
So I hope that sparks some fresh ideas for your Google business profile. And if you want to take those insights and apply them to your business today, then don't forget that tick list that I put together that you can just download for free. But if you want to dive a bit deeper into that interview I had with Justin with some other juicy bits that we didn't get into this edit, then the full version's here. But if you're just after some more tips to tick off and really get your business so that it's hitting all the right things for this year, then here's another video that you might want to just watch that will give you some extra tips to take you all the way to ranking #1. So I'll see you on that video next.